We've all been there, right? You're in a group and there's that one person who just barely says a word. And it's so easy to think, oh, they're just shy or maybe they're not even interested. But what if that silence isn't a weakness? What if it's actually a source of some hidden, incredible power? Well, today we're going to dive into the mind of the silent observer. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, picture that scene. The dinner table is buzzing, right? People are talking, laughing, cutting each other off, all trying to get a word in. And then there's that one person just taking it all in. This idea, it completely flips our script on who actually has the influence. It's probably not the loudest person. It just might be the quietest.
All right, so let's really break this down because there's this huge gap between how we see the listener and what is really going on inside their head.
And the contrast here is just wow. On the one hand, you have the labels we all jump to: shy, checked out, totally disengaged. But the reality? It's a completely different universe. That person isn't being passive at all. They are actively observing everything, they're constantly processing information, and believe me, they are being incredibly strategic. It's like they're running a covert operation right there in plain sight.
And this brings us to what I like to call their superpower. That ability to stay quiet, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a finely honed tool that gives them a massive advantage over pretty much everyone else at the table. So, here's the absolute core of it. While everyone else is busy broadcasting, sharing their thoughts, telling their stories, putting their own stuff out there, the listener is in full-on reception mode. They're like a human data gathering machine, just absorbing everything that's being said, and maybe more importantly, everything that isn't.
But what does downloading data actually mean when you're just, sitting at a table? It's so much more than just hearing words. Let's get into the mechanics of how this whole thing actually works.
The process is incredibly detailed. So step one, they're reading those tiny, fleeting micro-expressions, the flicker of an eye, a slight twitch of the lip, all the little things that give away how people truly feel. Then, step two, they're analyzing the tone of voice, the pauses, the subtext that's bubbling just under the surface of the words. And finally, step three, they put it all together, downloading this rich, complex file on the group's entire dynamic, the motivations, the alliances, the emotional currents.
And, this isn't just some personality theory or a cool idea. There is actual hard science behind why this is so powerful. Let's take a peek at what's going on in their brain.
The secret ingredient here is something called neurons. These things are incredible. They're the brain cells that let us feel empathy. So when you watch someone smile, your mirror neurons for smiling fire up, and it lets you experience a little shadow of that same joy. Well, for the listener, these neurons are working overtime. They're allowing them to process the entire emotional landscape of the conversation without even saying a word.
So the listener's brain is anything but checked out. It is firing on all cylinders, super active. It's not just hearing the conversation, it's literally feeling the conversation. And this all leads to a process called deeper encoding. The information isn't just bouncing off the surface, it's being processed and stored on a much, much more profound level. To really get a handle on that idea, think about how information was consumed before the internet, right? Before the constant fire hose of social media. You'd read a book or an article, and you'd actually have time to think about it, to let it sink in. That is deeper encoding. The listener is doing that in real time with social information, which lets them avoid all the knee-jerk, surface-level reactions everyone else is having. Okay, so all this deep processing, all this data gathering, it all builds up to the final piece of the puzzle. When, and more importantly, why the listener finally decides to speak. And trust me, it's not random, it's a calculation. For a lot of people, silence is uncomfortable, isn't it? It's something you have to fill. But for the silent observer, silence is a tool. It's their natural habitat. They don't feel that pressure to talk just to make noise. They only break their silence when they've decided that what they have to say is actually going to have an impact. So they're running this constant cost-benefit analysis in their head. On one hand, what's the cost of speaking? Well, it's wasting energy, maybe saying something obvious that someone else was going to say anyway. And this is a big one, it disrupts their data collection. It stops the flow of information. But then what's the benefit? The benefit is huge. It's the chance to drop in that one crucial insight that nobody else saw to completely change the direction of the conversation or to make that one key connection that changes everything. They only speak when the benefit totally crushes the cost. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're in a meeting or at dinner or just hanging out with friends, Find the quietest person in the room. And don't just write them off. Don't mistake their silence for absence. Instead, ask yourself a question. Who's really in control here? Is it the person doing all the talking, or is it the one who has downloaded all the data?